Quantitative research methods are one of the most widely used methods in research, in which we are going to conduct research by using quantitative methods. Before we start, I just want to revisit the definition of research, which is given by Umar. Research is defined as a systematic, data-based, critical scientific inquiry into a specific problem that needs solution. So, according to researchers, research is not haphazard effort. It is systematic, it is data based. Whenever you are concluding anything and you say that we have done research, so it should be data based. Everything should be backed up by data, backed up by the evidence. And evidence is very important. And that evidence should be collected scientifically, and that evidence should be reviewed critically, and then we are going to say something about the results of the research. So research basically, the applied research, if we talk about, provides information to the managers to make decisions and rectify the problems. And research methods. Research methods refer to ways in which the research studies are designed and procedures are established by which data are analyzed. So methods basically refer to the ways in which we are going to conduct our studies, which we are using to get data, and then we are going to analyze the data by making sure that everything is according to the plan. And in quantitative research methods, before we proceed for the research method, we generally have two types of thought processes. One is deduction and other is induction. Deduction is the process of arriving at conclusions by interpreting the meaning of the results from data analysis. And deduction is a process by which we arrive at reasoned conclusion by logically generalizing from a known fact. Actually, deduction is used by the people who are using quantitative research methods. So in deduction, we are going to use, first is theory. We have a theory already that is going to be used, and then on the basis of theory, we are developing the hypothesis, and then we collect data, and then we analyze data. There are findings, and we see whether our hypotheses which were developed are rejected or accepted, and if there is any need of revising the theory. So deduction is a process in which we have theory first. We are coming up with a theoretical background, and then we are collecting data, and then we are analyzing, and then we are revising our theory. And the other thought process is induction, in which we draw results from one or more particular facts or pieces of evidence. We first collect data, and then we analyze data, and then we develop theories. And this process is shown in this picture. You can see in deductive process, we have theory first, and then our findings are later on. Then in induction, observations or findings means we collect data first, we analyze the data, and then we develop and we conclude some theory or some findings from that collected data. So that is inductive process. And this is qualitative research generally when we are using inductive reasoning, and there is quantitative research method when we are using deductive approach. So in quantitative data analysis or in quantitative research methods, our thought process is backed up by deductive approach. So in quantitative research, we are concerned with the measurement of social variables. How we are going to measure these variables, this is yet another thing. So for example, we have a variable, we say this is student satisfaction. We have to measure this variable accordingly. So we will develop a questionnaire, or an instrument will be used, whether we develop the instrument or we use someone else's instrument to measure the social variables. This is one of the very important features of quantitative research. Unlike qualitative research, in which we are not going to measure the variables. Here we are going to measure the variables, and then we see the effects of the one variable on the other variable. Common research designs in quantitative research are surveys and experiments. So, and even Surveys are more used by the quantitative researchers. Experiments are bit different things and difficult things. Then we have numeric and statistical data. So our data are always numeric, which are used by the statisticians, which are used by the researchers to come up with certain conclusions. And as I told you, we have deductive theory testing, and our epistemology is positivist, in which we are looking for numbers, we are looking for natural science rules that we have evidence, which evidence is scientifically collected. And then we have objectivist view of reality as external to social actors. We assume that the social researcher has a value free paradigm in this research. So, quantitative research methods are basically backed up by the measures of variables, measurement of variables. Common research designs are survey and experiment, numerical and statistical data is used, deductive theory, positivist epistemology, and we have objectivist ontology in this scenario. And if we see this particular figure, this figure tells us the difference between quantitative and qualitative research methods. See, the first thing, principal orientation to the role of theory in relation to research. In quantitative, the principal orientation is deductive, in which we are going to test the theory. And in qualitative, it is inductive. Here we are looking to generate the theory. And then epistemological orientation is natural science model. In particular, positivism is used in quantitative approach. While in qualitative approach, we have interpretivism. And then ontological orientation, as I told you, in quantitative, we have objectivism, and in qualitative, we have constructionism. Since we are chiefly in this lecture related with the quantitative research method, so we see we are going to use deductive approach, we are going to use natural science model, positivism, and we have objectivism in our mind. So whenever you are going to use quantitative research method, you must be aware of this paradigm. So let's see what is the quantitative research process. Well, this is not as linear as I have drawn here. There are different things. You can go back and forth, and you can refine your previous step. So we start with the problem definition, in which we have to define what is our research topic, what are our research questions, and what are our research objectives. And then we go for literature review to refine our variables, to see which theory backs up our research model. And then we develop, on the basis of literature review, we develop theoretical framework. And then we develop hypothesis, whether there is certain relationship between the variables. And then we develop our research design. And then we collect data, and then there is data analysis and interpretation in quantitative research process. Let's see these steps one by one. So first thing is the problem definition, or defining the research problem, what research you are going to do. If you have defined, the key is defining your research problem efficiently. If you have defined your research problem, a well-defined research problem is half solved. This is, very commonly said by the researchers and the managers. So you have to define your research problem appropriately. If you are clear in your mind what research study you are going to conduct, then you will be able to get the answers as well. And also see, is the topic something which you are fascinated? Always, this is for students, for MS and other research topics. Whenever you are going to conduct research, you should be in love with your topic. You should be happy what you are going to do. It should not be an imposed thing on you. So try a topic which you really like. Try a topic, try a research question, try to answer a research question which you really like to answer. Then in quantitative research, you must see, does your topic contain issues that have a clear link to theory? As I explained earlier, that deductive approach is used, it means there should be a theory first. in quantitative. So, is your topic related to any particular theory? Is there a theory in the background of your research? It should be. If it is not, then you will have problems in defending your research. Then, are you able to state your research questions and objectives clearly? So, defining the problem also requires that you should be able to define your research questions and your research objectives clearly. And then you are going to conduct research further by having a good literature review. So, literature review is very important in quantitative studies. In quantitative studies, research is done chiefly on the basis of the previous theories. So, how would you be able to understand previous theory? You will have to conduct a literature review. So, it is the documentation of comprehensive view of published and unpublished work from secondary sources of data in area of interest. So, the review should describe, summarize, evaluate, and clarify this literature. So, your literature review should not be mere copy pasting of other people's work. You should review, you should summarize, you should evaluate, you should criticize, and you should find out a research gap. That what research gap is there, and that research gap should be filled by your research topic. So, from literature review, you can go back to your research topic and you can refine it, and you can rephrase your research questions and your research objectives. So, your literature review should give a theoretical base for research and help you determine the nature of your research. Works which are irrelevant should not be included. This is very important. Some of the students include tons of references, too much references there, and those references, those theories, those works are not related with the topic. It should always be related, and the peripherals should be looked at critically. Should you include something that is partially related to your topic? So this is very important, that you are going to conduct a good literature review. And I would suggest you two things. One, there are some of the software, some of the applications which nowadays facilitate the citations. Mendeley is there, EndNote is there. You can use. I use EndNote. That is a good software. And then NVivo is a software which is basically used for qualitative research, but that also helps to conduct literature review. That helps you to synthesize some of the literature issues. And then, on the basis of your literature review, you develop a theoretical framework and you develop hypotheses. So, what is theoretical framework? In theoretical framework, we have 5 things to do. First, variables should be clearly identified. You must identify which are the independent variables, which is dependent variable, which is moderating variable, which is mediating variable. So you should clearly define which variables are working and how related are these variables with each other. You must discuss. Your discussion should lead us to this conclusion that variable A is related to variable B, and discuss whether the relationship would be positive or negative. For example, are turnover intentions leading to job dissatisfaction, or is job dissatisfaction leading to employee turnover? Which one is the independent variable, which one is the dependent variable, and how these relationships are there? And also explain why would we expect these relationships to exist? Why there is this relationship? Why this variable is independent? What is the logic behind that? Why and how this variable logically can mediate the relationship between the two variables, and how a variable is a moderating variable. Let us see an example. I had conducted a research on the knowledge management practices and employee performance, moderating role of emotional intelligence. So you can see there is one independent variable. This is knowledge management practices. And these knowledge management practices lead to employee performance. So employee performance is the dependent variable. And then there is another variable which is called emotional intelligence, which is the moderating variable. So this is an example of a theoretical framework. The last point in the theoretical framework is a schematic diagram of framework so that the reader can visualize the relationship. Okay, so you can see this is the diagram that visualizes the relationship of the variables, which a reader can see. Now, from this visualization, you can develop hypothesis. Okay, and let's see what is a hypothesis. Hypothesis is an unproven proposition. A proposition is basically a relationship between the concepts or the variables or the constructs. It is a possible solution to a problem, and it is a guess. You are guessing that this variable affects that variable, and this assumption is going to be tested after that. And if we go for the definition of that, that is logically conjectured relationship between two or more variables expressed in the form of a testable statement. So, hypotheses are the statements that you are going to test by collecting evidence, by collecting data. That is why we said research is data based. So, results of these tests give clues as to what could be changed in the situation to solve the problem. Using statistical tools, we check our hypotheses. So, see, from this particular diagram, we can easily develop two hypotheses. One of the hypotheses is knowledge management practices positively affect employee performance. This is hypothesis number one. And then you can develop another hypothesis from this diagram. Emotional intelligence moderates the relationship between knowledge management practices and employee performance. So, after you collect data, you will be able to prove whether this relationship exists, whether emotional intelligence moderates the relationship, or whether knowledge management practices are going to affect employee performance. And so that is up to your statistical analysis. But this relationship, that diagram that you have developed, it has not come out of your own intuition and your own ideas and in your own thoughts. This is based on the literature review. Literature is supporting that knowledge management practices affect employee performance. That is why we call these procedures as quantitative research methods. This is a deductive theory. This is deductive approach in which you are coming up with a theory. And this is actually a theory that you are going to develop, going to prove by making some of the hypotheses. So your theoretical framework is outcome of your good literature review, which is telling us which variable affects which variable. And then we go to research design types. In quantitative research, we have experimental designs, we have cross-sectional designs, including survey, the most common form in quantitative research. And there are longitudinal studies such as panel and cohort studies, various forms of qualitative research are there, and case study designs. But quantitative research generally goes for cross-sectional designs and survey research. We discuss it further. So in research design, we are going to decide about the purpose of study, the unit of analysis, time horizon, data collection methods, sampling design, measurements and measures of the variables, and data analysis. So the purpose of study is one of the most important things in research design to decide. So there are three: exploratory, descriptive, and explanatory. In exploratory study, we discover the general nature of the problem and the variables involved. It has high degree of flexibility and tends to rely on secondary data, convenience samples, and small-scale survey and case analysis. For example, if you are going to say explore some phenomena which was not previously explored, and you must remember, generally we have qualitative research study in exploratory designs. So I conducted some of the researches. This one is the research supervision in distance learning, issues and challenges. This was a qualitative study that we conducted on the online and distance teachers, where we asked them what issues and what problems, what challenges they have faced during supervising their students of MS and project students and even PhD students, how they are tackling these issues. Because in distance education, teachers and students are separated by time and space, so it is very unlikely that they will sit together and discuss in person. So what issues they are facing? So our basic purpose was to explore, to dig deep into the issues and challenges. And the other study is exploring the issues and challenges of online assessment and evaluation in the era of artificial intelligence. So we asked the teachers basically. Now there are multiple artificial intelligence tools available, rather thousands of tools are available, and how you are going to assess the students work, how you ensure that these works are, these assignments or these projects are being submitted by the students, these are originally done by the students. So what issues do you think should be there? So this is exploratory study in which you are going to explore the phenomena. Maybe a phenomena which was not previously explored, maybe a phenomena that was explored in other context. You are going to do it in your context, in your area. So these are called exploratory studies. Descriptive studies, we are going to give accurate description of the variables. For example, consumer profile studies, and we conducted a study in which we discussed e-learning and student satisfaction. It was a quantitative study. Then there is explanatory study in which we are going to see the relationship. We are going to explain the phenomena. For example, the occupational stress and job burnout of female medical staff, the moderating role of psychological capital and social support. So here we have one independent variable, occupational stress, which is explaining the job burnout, and two moderators are there. So explanatory studies are there in which you are going to explain a phenomena. You basically, some people call these causal studies as well, but I refrain from using the word causal. Explanatory is the better word. And then we have unit of analysis. From whom you are going to collect data? Are you going to collect data from the individuals? Will your research question be answered by the individuals, or two people, the diets or the groups or the organizations or the culture? For example, Hofstede conducted a research on cultures of the nations, a very seminal work of Hofstede. You can see that. And then time horizon. How many times you need to collect data? In quantitative studies, generally, we are going to conduct survey research, and for that, we use cross-sectional studies. The cross-sectional studies are basically in which we can collect data once, and that data is sufficient to answer our research questions. Or you can have longitudinal studies, studies in which data are collected more than once. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there are data collection methods, structured questionnaires, structured interviews, and structured observations. Generally, in quantitative research methods, we have structured questionnaires. We are going to use structured questionnaires or interviews which are structured. Structured means we have specific format, specific question, specific design, and specific order of the questions. And after that, there are two basic, challenges. How you are going to collect data, how you're going to approach the people. You can go for the sampling. Is it a probability sampling or non-probability sampling? Probability sampling is preferred because it gives more generalizability. However, if you don't have sampling frame, you can go for non-probability sampling, but statisticians don't like non-probability sampling for data analysis using certain methods. And then we have data analysis tools. For example, you can use descriptive analysis. If it is a descriptive study, you can go for regression, correlation, mediation, and moderation analysis. And there are many other structured equation modeling is there that you can use for data analysis. Since in quantitative research methods, you have numbers, you have measured the variables, so you can go for these tools, which are good statistical analysis that you can use for your data analysis. And then these are the research strategies: experiments, survey, case study, grounded theory, ethnography, action research. But as I told you, we stick to survey. And if I summarize the whole research process, this, you can see, this is the research onion given by Mark Saunders. So you can see On the outermost layer shows the philosophies. You can go for positivism, realism, or any other interpretivism. And then we have approaches: deductive approach or inductive approach. And then we have research strategies, as I discussed: experiment, survey, case studies, action research, grounded theory, and any other thing. And then there are choices. Are you going to use mono method, means just questionnaire, or mixed method, or a multi method? And then you have time horizon. This is the cross sectional or longitudinal data. And then techniques and procedures. These are data collection and data analysis thing. So you can use this research onion given by Saunders to proceed further and to structure your research by using quantitative research methods. And thank you very much. These are some of the references you can go through and you can find more details about it.